I'm now honored to welcome Dana-Farber trustee Richard Lubin to the podium. Richard is senior advisor and the co-founder of Berkshire Partners. For over 3 decades, Richard has been a pillar of the Dana-Farber community, serving on the board of trustees, where he is now vice chair. Together with his wife, Nancy, their partnership with the Institute combines business expertise, a commitment to the community, and a passion for advancing cancer research. I've been honored to serve as the Lubin family chair since I joined Dana-Farber almost 5 years ago, and this chair has accelerated the fundamental explorations of our genome that I touched on very briefly. In 2022, the Lubin Family Foundation established a Lubin Family Foundation Scholar Award, an incredibly successful program that provides mentoring and generous financial support to young investigators launching their careers. Please join me in welcoming Richard to the stage.
Well, you've just heard from Brad about the importance of Dana-Farber's research enterprise and the challenges and opportunities that are ahead of us there. I was asked to provide some background on the thinking behind our foundation's support for that research enterprise through the establishment of the Lubin Family Foundation Scholar Award program. Our foundation, by way of background, was established over 40 years ago, and medical research has been one of the primary areas of focus throughout our foundation's history. About 6 years ago, we determined that we wanted to develop an oncology research-related program focused on the scientist rather than on the science. And in the course of looking at that, we conducted a series of interviews to hone that focus. I'll note now that we were fortunate in that process to have Dr. David Livingston become an integral part of our process. And as probably everybody in this room knows, David was an esteemed researcher and great mentor at Dana-Farber. The focus of our program as we came out of those interviews was to concentrate on physician scientists. We were convinced that researchers with that background were disproportionately responsible for producing great science, while they were also especially at risk, and that's maybe especially true in today's environment. We determined that we would focus on the approximately 4-year period between the end of their fellowship programs and when they achieved their own laboratory, and that is plus or minus 4 years. That's a period when pressures are, I think, extremely high with respect to staying on an academic research career path. So we focused on that period, and we decided to have a program that would provide support for 4 years, and that it would be going to 4 scholars per year. Importantly, we also determined that the program should focus on providing an enhanced mentorship experience during that period. And again, David Livingston had a role here. It was his belief in the importance of mentorship that was a major factor in our program's focus there. Finally, in this regard, I'm happy to say that on July 1st of this year, our 4th cohort began receiving funding and otherwise participating. And so now our program is at steady state with 16 Lubin scholars in the program. Which takes me to my primary task today, which is the introduction of our next 2 speakers, both of whom have a close connection with the Lubin Family Foundation Scholar Award Program, Drs. Bill Kaelin and Cindy Hahn. They will share with us how scientific discovery is funded across generations and career stages, while shedding light on the challenges, pressures, and opportunities that come with seeking support for breakthrough science. Before they begin, I'll provide a little background on each of them. Dr. Bill Kaelin is a Howard Hughes Medical Institute investigator, the Cindy Hahn Professor of Medicine at Harvard Medical School and a Dana-Farber faculty member. He received the 2019 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for his work revealing how cells sense and adapt to changes in oxygen availability, a mechanism that cancer cells can commandeer to fuel their growth. And, as important, to me anyway, Bill is the scientific director and much more of the Lubin Family Foundation Scholar Award Program. In point of fact, he was instrumental in its creation, and it wouldn't exist in its present form without him. Dr. Cindy Hahn is a physician scientist in the lymphoma division at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and an instructor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. She received her undergraduate degree from Amherst College, her MD, PhD from Dartmouth Medical School, trained in internal medicine at Brigham and Women's Hospital, and completed hematology and oncology fellowship at Dana-Farber and Mass General Brigham, where she served as chief fellow. She is currently a postdoctoral fellow in the laboratory of Dr. Catherine Wu and at the Dana-Farber and Broad Institute of Harvard and MIT. Cindy is a Lubin Family Foundation scholar, where she is a member of the program's first cohort and a recipient of the Alan J. Hirschfield Lymphoma Research Award, and has been recognized for her dedication to teaching and mentoring throughout her training. Her long-term goal as physician scientist is to lead an independent laboratory that aims to identify new ways to enhance immunologic targeting of lymphomas and improve therapies for patients. I'd like to now invite Bill and Cindy to the stage.
Well, thank you so much, Richard. I see a lot of familiar faces here, but for those of you who don't know me, I came to the Dana-Farber in 1987 as a medical oncology fellow. I came because it was the best medical oncology fellowship training program in the world. That was true then. It's still true now. And there's a long history of people coming to train here as fellows and then joining the faculty eventually. So it's been a good farm system for us. Now, in my case, I came to the Dana-Farber largely because of its clinical excellence. I expected to be a clinical investigator, but fortunately for me, as a fellow, the great David Livingstone, who you just heard about, took me under his wing and taught me how to be a physician scientist. And so, much to my surprise, I took the road of becoming a physician scientist. And shortly after I started my own laboratory in 1992, a gene was isolated that, when inherited in defective form from mom or dad, causes a variety of cancers, including kidney cancer, which is one of the 10 most common cancers in the country. But in addition, a number of other cancers that all had in common that they produced the molecular distress signals that you or I would start producing if we went to the top of Mount Everest. And so that was sort of the clue that my clinical training was saying these tumors are behaving in an odd way. There must be something related to oxygen, and if I can use the tools David Livingstone taught me, maybe I could understand for the first time how oxygen gets sensed. And so the relevant work was done between the year 1993 and the year 2000. Now I'm going to cheat here because they haven't started the clock. I could have just left it off the entire time, but that would not be fair. So can we make sure that the clock gets started? So the relevant work was done between the year 1993 and the year 2000. And then, as you heard, I was fortunate enough to win the Nobel Prize in 2019. Now, this is Nobel Prize week. I can tell you if there was a Nobel Prize for mentorship, David Livingstone would have won it. So now, I started out by saying I came here for clinical excellence, but I think part of the secret sauce of the Dana-Farber is, you know, that we pay equal attention to research excellence, meaning laboratory-based fundamental research, as you just heard from Brad, and clinical excellence, whether it's clinical research or clinical care. And so it was that environment that allowed me to thrive as a physician scientist. But I've also come to appreciate, and admittedly I'm biased, but you just heard it as well from Richard, I think physician scientists have a special role in that ecosystem because they're the natural bridges between the world of the clinic and the world of the laboratory. They understand the language well, and they see the opportunities. And so I think that was largely why the Lubin family decided to focus on physician scientists. We want some of our best and brightest to go into that path to become physician scientists, but almost by definition, our best and brightest often have many, many, many opportunities before them, and I can tell you some appear more lucrative and less arduous than seeking the rigorous training that it takes to become a physician scientist. So now I've tried to introduce some of the ingredients that I think are important. You have to have a strong ecosystem. We have that. We have great substrate, great young people, but they need mentorship. A lot of becoming a scientist is taught by apprenticeship, and so they need mentorship, and frankly, they need some financial stability. So I think that was the genius of Richard and his family to create this program with the late David Livingston. And it's now my privilege to introduce one of our scholars, Cindy Hahn. Cindy, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what this program has meant.
Yeah, so thanks, Bill. I'm a lymphoma physician scientist, and I split my time between caring for lymphoma patients in the clinic and being a postdoc in the laboratory of Catherine Wu. My specific project has really focused on how do we understand basic mechanisms in how lymphoma cells hide from recognition from the immune system. And I think Bill talked a little bit about what a special career being a physician scientist is. And you heard a little bit about my background and training. Well, one piece, and I think some of the inspiration for why I pursued this path to begin with, was early exposure to excellent mentorship when I worked as a research associate at Dana-Farber in Todd Golub lab and Kimberly Stegmeyer's lab. And so this was really an inspiration, and through their example, I saw what an impactful career this could really be. And I was fortunate enough to then come back to Dana-Farber to be a part of the Hematology and Oncology Fellowship Program. And through that, I would like to highlight some of the special features of what being a Lubin Scholar has really meant to me. One of the main features I think that has been really emphasized is its commitment to mentorship. And through this program, I think my relationship with my primary mentor, Kathy, has been strengthened and structured. I've had exposure to many other mentors and incredible faculty here at Dana-Farber. And Bill now has to give me feedback on my presentations. So I feel fortunate to have this network of people around me. And I think one unexpected thing as far as mentorship is concerned is the peer-to-peer mentorship. I'm incredibly close to my other Lubin scholars. The four of us that started in this program, we have helped each other tremendously when we're applying for grants or thinking about taking the next steps in applying for faculty positions. And I know that I don't think I would be at this point without this program and my cohort of Lubin scholars. I think when I started this journey, I don't fully appreciated how challenging this last step would be. There's so many pushes and pulls from financial, trying to maintain enough support to actually be able to focus on your science, to be a good clinician and actually take care of my patients. Many of us are starting families. I had 2 kids during my postdoc. But really, it's this commitment, and I think the commitment of this program that has enabled me really to be successful in where I am today. And I feel very fortunate that I was just given an NIH grant that will transition me to my faculty position in the future. And I don't think that would have been possible without being a Lubin Scholar.
Well, it will come as no surprise hearing those remarks that this is an extremely competitive program. In fact, Brad and I sit on the selection committee, so almost by definition, the people we attract to the Dana-Farber are A's, and then we have to pull out the A-pluses who are going to then be in this program, and Cindy is certainly an A-plus. And so many of the things you said resonate with me. I think one of the many reasons David should have gotten the Nobel Prize in mentorship is he, about every 6 months, had to talk me out of quitting. And it was usually because this is too hard. My grant just got rejected. No one believes in me. I've run out of money. All these little things, but they're not so little when you're starting your career, especially again when you see other opportunities calling off in the distance that might seem easier at the time and even more lucrative at the time. So to have that validation of having a group of faculty say, we believe in you, I'm sure you would agree, it gives you a little bit of extra wind in your sail, knowing that you have a safety net underneath you in terms of some financial support. I will tell you, I've said before, it takes a village to raise a child, but also it takes a village to raise a Nobel laureate. And as I was on the stage, waiting for the king to give me the medal, I was thinking, how lucky am I? And I was just running through my Rolodex of all the ways I was lucky, but one of which was all of the donors who I, in many cases, will have never met, who were precisely the people who made sure I had the infrastructure to do my work, or when I perhaps had run out of funding, I got that little bridge loan, if you will, to keep the work moving forward. So thank you for all of you for the things you've done. And you know, perhaps I'll end with two David Livingstonisms. One of which was, he used to call me Billy. He was, other than my immediate family, no one else was allowed to call me Billy, but he could call me Billy. He'd say, Billy, this is actually not that complicated. You just take a great young person, you plant them in a fertile area, and then you water them now and then. And that's kind of it. And in broad strokes, I think he's right. I learned scientific taste and instincts from him, trying to make sure people are working in good areas. But of course, the watering is a metaphor for, you know, if you don't have the resources, you can't do the work. I've also realized that the Dana-Farber has established this virtuous circle. You've heard a little bit about it from Brad Bernstein, that because we're a great institution, we attract great young people like Cindy, but in the end, it's people like Cindy who make it a great institution. So if we can keep that flywheel going, we're doing okay. And perhaps my last David Livingston is David used to always say, Billy, it's the obligation of every scientist to train at least one scientist who is better than they are. So I'm so thrilled to have the honor of serving as the scientific director for the Lubin Family Scholars, because I think now you have a little bit of a taste of the caliber of individual that we're trying to support. So again, I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank all of you for your support of the Dana-Farber. I sometimes am struck by the fact that I was a child of the 60s and 70s when there was the constant drumbeat that scientists and engineers were our heroes. And I sometimes question, if I had not heard that drumbeat when I was a young person, would I have become a scientist? So on top of all of the other intrinsic difficulties of becoming a scientist, getting the grant funded, getting the training, Cindy, I'm sure this is something your colleagues talk about in terms of, you know, let's make sure we don't lose sight of what's really important. And every day we walk through the waiting areas at the Dana-Farber, of course, we're reminded what's really important. But I know I've had to have pep rallies, so to speak, with my trainees to say, remember, you're the heroes. You're the good guys in this story. But I don't know if you want to close with any reflections on your colleagues and what they're going through now and how meaningful, again, something like the Lubin Scholar Award is.
Just to say that, you know, it's been commented today that we're entering a tough time, and we are so grateful for the support. And it's just so critical in this moment, so thank you.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you all. Thank you. All right. Thank you.